Podcasting from Astrolab Studios, this is Continuum Drag, a weekly podcast where we revisit sci-fi, fantasy, and just plain weird shows that have faded from the collective consciousness and didn't quite make the impact that they intended. This week, Space, Above and Beyond, episodes 10 and 11.
Let them go, before I lose all of you.
But they're still alive.
They are dead. You said so in your own voice.
You're just saying that.
USS Saratoga Communications transmission log date 12-3-63, 0400 hours and 53 seconds.
Echo 5 Delta. This is Zulu 9er Bravo. Over. We got a real situation here. Requesting suppression fire and extraction from direction 2.7 clicks northwest of Bullseye. They're all dead. Everyone. The 58th, the 61st. Everyone's dead. I'm the only one. It's not true!
Welcome to Continuum Drag, the podcast that is filled with the Christmas spirit in October. I'm Luke, here with my co-host Jordan, and this week we're joined by our returning guest Courtenay, who brought us pancakes in honor of Ray Butts.
Yeah, everyone loves Ray Butts.
I haven't even seen the episode, but it made me laugh on the podcast, so I figured I'd have to bring something in.
They were good pancakes.
It's getting a good precedence that anytime someone comes on, they bring us sweet confectionaries.
Bring us a gift. Bring us a gift.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how important this podcast is.
Well, it's because we're not making any money, so we need free food.
Bribe your way on.
Free food is always a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't say no, and I ate it immediately.
I mean, it's $5 when I leave, but, you can give it to me later. You're good for it.
Courtenay charges $5 to be on a podcast. She's got a good agent.
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah.
All right, Courtenay, last time you were here, I didn't ask you, but what's your history with TV sci-fi? Is this a genre you're a fan of?
No. Not I wouldn't say a history of it. I think I started watching sci-fi later in life, probably. I think with Netflix, things like that, I was able to explore some shows that I had heard about but hadn't really watched when I was growing up. X-Files was probably the only thing remotely sci-fi. That even counts, I don't know, but I was a big fan of that show. But yeah, I never watched any Star Trek. I barely watched Star Wars. I hadn't seen Star Wars until I was in university. We did not watch sci-fi in my house. Yeah.
So I take it you had never heard of Space from Beyond before.
Yeah, that's a hard no.
Hard no.
Hard no.
Burn on Morgan and Wang.
Sorry.
Wang. Oh no. I'm sorry. I did it
You're
again.
switching it.
I did it again. I have the wrong one. I don't know why it's so difficult.
Well, it's because it was pointed out to you now.
It's probably that tumor in your brain.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah.
Courtenay, since you didn't watch it, what were you doing in December of 95 if you weren't watching this show?
Oh, you know what? I knew that this was going to be a question, and I actually got distracted and didn't look up how old I was. So 95, that's...
30. You're 30. Can you imagine?
Oh my god. 95. I was
17? How old are you?
I'm 39 now.
14?
14?
I can't remember.
17?
17.
I was right the first time? Nice.
Yeah, 17. So I was in grade 12, still in high school. I don't know, nothing too exciting. I was in cyber arts if I was in grade 12.
Did you go to any cool parties?
Cool parties, always.
Little spin the bottle?
Oh, nothing that cool.
7 minutes in heaven?
I've only seen that in movies.
7 in heaven? Yeah, it's not
even
a real
spin
thing.
the bottle. I think we were just...
I wouldn't know. I don't think I went to one party in high school. Honestly.
Yeah?
I don't think I went to one.
No, I went to parties.
There's a
we had a
lot
of
of
parties.
sci-fi to watch.
I don't think I drank in grade 12, though, so I was like the DD. I would drive everyone around, pick people up. My pager.
You're a good friend. You had a pager?
I did have a pager. Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's pretty cool.
I wasn't a drug dealer either.
All right. Well, let's get into these episodes. So here is the summary for episodes 10, Stay with the Dead. After a dangerous mission, is Nathan West the only survivor of the 58th? Severely injured, he's returned to the Saratoga in complete shock. But was he really the only survivor? Traumatized, he tries to make sense of it and find out the truth. That IMDb summary was courtesy of Keith is me.
Yeah.
Keith?
Yes, Keith is
It's
me.
It's Kiefer Sutherland. Gotta be.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
And let me just mention right off the bat, and we talked about this a little bit off the air. I was very tired this week and in a perpetual grumpy state. So watching these episodes, take everything I say with a grain of salt because I hated them. And I don't know, we go through it. Maybe they're better than I thought, but I just was like, I gotta watch this stupid thing. And it was like, no, there's West's stupid face. So that was kind of how I feel about these going ahead. So again, just know that rough week, rough reviews, you know?
I will say that I thought I was in for like a bit of a really exciting 2 episodes after
you were
listening
definitely
to the
not.
podcast, and you guys were giving 8s out like they were candy. Like I've never heard those high scores before. I was super excited. But I was like, what the fuck is happening? Sorry. I don't know if I'm supposed to swear. Like what is happening? And what, like that first episode, this one was like so boring. It was so boring. Hardly any of the cast was there.
I agree with you.
I didn't really know what was happening. I was like, did I miss a big episode last week?
Let's get together and gang up on this episode because it sucked. What do you think, Luke?
All right, everyone. We haven't even started.
Okay,
Simmer down,
sorry.
he says.
Sorry.
Dad's in the room. All right, put away the power tools.
So the show opens on what almost looked like it's going to be a medical drama because the Saratoga Medical Corps is out and an injured fleet is coming in.
Yeah,
Is that new for this? Like,
Yeah,
because I liked the medical equipment. I actually wrote a note. I'm like, oh, this stuff's kind of cool.
Yeah,
looking.
it started almost like an episode of MASH.
Oh,
Yeah,
But
interesting.
MASH
Yeah.
it was not.
It would have been nice had it just been about the doctors.
I agree.
But essentially, West comes in. He's injured. There's a lot of dead people with him. They pull out this cool little mobile X-ray device, and they scan up his body, and they end up on his head, and he's got a piece of shrapnel like in his brain.
Is that what it was?
I couldn't figure out what that was either. I just thought it was. Is that established? No.
I
nothing's
just
established.
assumed that within the X-ray just had there'd be nothing in there. Am I right? Nice.
I thought maybe the shrapnel had always been there.
Right.
It was unrelated.
It's like, oh, geez, he's been walking around with this in his head the whole time. He's hitting the exact part of his brain that makes him only ever talk about his ex-girlfriend.
Are they exes? Do they break up?
Well,
She died. Not really.
well, we don't. I mean, the only instance he's had of her is a goo version of her, right? So, I mean, I think she's gone at this point.
He was into it for a bit.
Yeah, gross.
He's injured. They take him up to the ICU. They hook him up to an IV of green apple Gatorade, I guess. It's a big green bag.
I also had a note on that. Didn't make any
It's
sense.
just an energy drink in the future.
Makes you better.
Well, I was wondering, like, again, I was like, I couldn't remember who was who. I don't think I had figured out it was West yet. And I was like, is this like one of those in vitros? Do they have green blood? Like, is it blood? Like, I didn't know. So,
Fair enough.
but it wasn't that.
It was is a fun sci-fi future medical thing.
Yeah, it's just one of those. Like, it's the future. They use green goo.
Yeah, why not?
And we're informed that the rest of the 58th is dead. Imagine if that was true. Imagine if this episode started and they're like, everyone else is dead, just West is alive.
Yeah.
Imagine me going, what happened last week? What did I not see?
Yeah.
Did this happen? And then, like, you know, knowing how television works, I caught on pretty quickly that this is going to be a flashback
Yeah,
episode,
I thought the
but-
same. I was just like, they're all not dead. Let's just get to it. They're not dead. Stop trying to tease me. Boring.
This is their second flashback style episode. I think it's only the second one where they tell the story kind of in 2 timelines. They
That's
did it
right.
with the Fear episode,
Which also sucked.
and then they were trying it again here. I think to a slightly better effect in this episode. I think they got it a little better.
I disagree.
Jordan is very grouchy.
Yeah, I'm grouchy. I'm not even grouchy. This episode sucked. And just
Well,
get ready. Get ready because it sucks. Right? Don't you agree with me,
Well,
Courtney? Courtney agrees
I have
with
a
me.
lot of questions.
Oh,
about
good.
it.
She's got questions. I have anger, and Luke has
Wisdom.
only love and wisdom. Yeah.
I've got a fun game for you right now,
Oh,
Courtney.
no.
Because they go to a funeral for the 58th now,
Oh,
where a
that's one of my
priest
questions.
is reading off the names of everyone who died in the 58th on this planet West was on. Now, some of the names are of regular cast, and some of the names are brand new characters they just made up for the episode. I'm going to read them off, and you've been listening, so you might be able to get them all. But I want to see if
Who's
you
the
can
real
figure
characters?
out who was a real character.
Are they
and
the
who was a
real
one-off.
names or their code names?
The character names they read at the funeral.
Okay.
There was Dampos, Wang,
Wang's a character.
Churchill, Powell, Hawks,
Hawks is a character.
Lyndon, Vanson,
Vanson's a character.
Tell, and Changowitz.
That one? Maybe? That's a guess.
All right. Wang, Hawks, Vanson, Changowitz. Those are Courtney's 4. So close.
You're very
It's
close.
not right.
Changowitz isn't right.
Sounds made up.
It's Dampus was the other one you
Dampus?
missed.
What's the first name of Dampus?
That's a good question.
I can't remember. It's like Cindy or Susie or
Oh, is it the
Jenny?
other lady?
Yeah, it's the other lady.
Yeah.
There's 3 ladies, I guess, but there's 3 ladies, right?
No, there's only
Dorothy?
two.
Is it
There's only
Dorothy?
2.
There's only two.
That might
two
explain
women.
why one of my notes is these 2 white ladies look exactly the same. Same person.
Oh, that's a surprise for the next episode. But it is true. Both of these episodes, for maybe not the first time, maybe the second time, they filled out the squad with a bunch of one-off
Randoms.
actors. It was very funny since you were coming on. I'm like, there's a lot of new characters here. None of them matter, but it's
Yeah.
going to make it real hard to tell who's important.
Well, especially at the beginning of this episode specifically, because they're all in like the muck on the planet and they're all covered up, so they don't, and I can't see their names. And I was like, what is happening? Like I had a feeling that they were the 58, but I couldn't figure out who everyone was.
Vanessa is her name, by the way. I just looked it
Oh,
up.
right. Vanessa Damphouse. So how I'm going to get into this episode is I'm going to go through sort of the storyline of West on the ship, and then we'll come back and find out what happened. So I don't jump back and forth between the flashbacks too much. But after this funeral, West is pretty sure the 58th is still alive, but he can't quite remember how. But McQueen reassures him that they've recovered their bodies, and they even have audio of West calling into the Saratoga to say, everybody's dead.
Yeah.
So we're kind of left with this mystery that's perhaps not much of a mystery based on the look I'm getting from Jordan.
I knew they were all alive, so it was just like what I kept thinking this episode was gonna be was that it's all a trick from the Chigs, but it's not.
No. One thing he does remember, though, is, and he keeps saying this phrase over and over, which is the title of the episode, stay with the dead, which is kind of going to be our only clue as to what happened. But the docs think West has PTSD, and in the future, there's a way to cure that.
Well, I think he actually has PTSD. I don't think
That's true. He does actually have PTSD.
I think he's been through some stuff, you know? Like, I think he's allowed to be freaking out, but
No, you're right.
how they're going to treat him is, yes, maybe.
He's acting a little hard out in this episode.
Is he? I don't know.
You don't think so?
Well,
he's all like,
doing
he's like,
something.
no, and yes.
He's not
like
much
constantly.
of a leading man, though, eh? Like, he's not, his face is like, give me any of those other guys, man. Anyone else on that episode would have been.
The hate for West on this podcast is so
But,
thick.
like, I was shocked. I was expecting a better looking, like just like androidy kind of like insert basic white guy something.
Leading man.
But he's not what I was expecting. Little Weasley.
Everyone seems to agree, no offense to that actor, but he was an odd choice to be our, like, romantic lead.
Yeah.
Okay, getting back to his PTSD, did you catch how they cure that in the future?
No, what was it?
Shock therapy.
Oh, that's right. It was Shock. You're right. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
shock
Yeah.
therapy, right?
It's electroconvulsive therapy with a fiber optic laser scalpel. But yeah, it sounds like
It's a
they're
fun little,
basically-
new twist they put on the future.
Yeah, it sounds like they're basically going to lobotomize him because they're going to scrape out his long-term memory.
Which is why I guess that like McQueen luckily is like, oh, maybe let's not jump to that.
I like that the doctor tells McQueen, he's just like, we've come a long way since the 20th century. Now we just go into the brain and scrape it out.
Yeah. Well, they've cut
They had
out, they've cut out the
couple good
middleman.
exchanges, actually. I couldn't quite figure out, even into the second episode, what McQueen's relationship was with them, because he's like kind of like their boss, but is never with them on any of their missions. So that took me a half second.
Someone's got to stay at the bridge.
Yeah, this is where I don't know.
It's
how
a mill.
it works.
Yeah, he's a commanding officer. I guess he doesn't go with them.
He doesn't go.
I don't-
He
I don't
protects
know
over
why.
them.
I don't know why
He's like
either.
their dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what the military's like. Everyone gets a dad.
And this is,
He's like the stepdad.
and also, what is with Marines in space? Like, why are they in space? Why are they Marines? Like, so obviously Marines?
I don't understand your problem.
Is that established in other sci-fi? Like, why aren't Marines like I don't know.
What do you think a Marine is?
I don't know. I don't feel like they shouldn't be in space. I feel like it's separate. Like
Are you-
army people. Like I'm like with the full dress and everything. Like they're gonna have that on the ship with them. I don't know. It seems weird. It feels like too much of a cross. Maybe that's just.
Is it because you mean like
Who-
navies in the ocean?
Yeah.
And armies on the ground. What are the Marines?
I
What's their
don't- I don't
specialty?
know.
The Marines?
Yeah.
They also on a boat? I
They're
don't know.
pilots.
They're pilots.
They're not pilots, are they? No, that's the Air Force.
Well, technically, they are in some sort of Air Force.
Are they
Yeah.
part of the Air Force?
I mean, it's hard to say in this episode, and this came up. Someone was complaining online that
Yeah.
they train to be pilots, but they seem to just like do any role as the episode requires. And some like military enthusiast online was saying they really aren't sticking to their role. So
But none of us are military historians, so I don't
No,
know
and
what
it's
the
in
role
the
of
future,
anyone is.
so it could change absolutely, and they're well trained and all that. But I just thought it was weird, like
I'll-
costume choice. I don't know. I
I
thought
will-
it was odd.
I'll tell you this in general about science fiction military. Typically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, but it seems like the Navy takes over the Space Force usually.
At least in Star Trek, it was essentially a navy, right? Star
think-
Trek, well, because they use like naval terms for their rankings and everything.
I think in general that is how science fiction looks at space travels. They consider it to be kind of the domain of the Navy, and then you'll have like the Army on there to do ground missions, and you'll have the Air Force there
For
to
the fighter
fly off
jets
of the
and stuff.
carriers. So
Okay,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. Okay, I
no,
understand.
that's
No,
fine.
I get it.
There's no real answer. I don't know. It's
But I
just
didn't know
the
if it was
trope of the
established.
genre.
I didn't know if it was a trope or if it was like a thing for this show.
No, it's
So I
more
don't
of a
think I've
trope
seen
of
it.
the genre, I
Okay,
think.
that shows you how much I know about the genre.
Well, good question. I hadn't considered it. I'm just so used to science fiction being like, yeah, that's how it works.
Well, it's just
Yeah,
even
I-
like because it's just even like I know how important like the dress, like the special like in the funeral episode like scene and stuff. They're all like wearing like their fine.
Well, I think it's weird that
Things.
they clearly only have so much space on the ship. Why would you even bring those fancy outfits? There's no room for those in the closet. You know?
Well, the Saratoga is
Yes.
like the battleship, like the carrier.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the bigger.
Mhm.
Okay. There's some other stuff that will be in the Christmas.
That's the big ship, and they have
The little guys.
the whatever they call their
Hammerheads.
The hammerheads.
right.
They fly off of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
That's where
yeah.
they're stored. Yeah.
And that's where the 58 you took to go
Yeah.
to the static planet.
But the weird thing about this is, and Luke, maybe you remember better than me, is this at least the second or third time the overall mission that's kind of like just in the back, like the reason the episode is happening, they're evacuating someone else. That's happened at least 2-3 times, right?
This is certainly another episode where they're going to go do a rescue or a resupply or something.
Because they're looking to get 61 off that planet and then they realize that they're dead.
That's the basic mission when they go to the thing. Getting briefly back to West in the hospital.
Of course, sorry.
We're kind of learning they want to do some surgery on him so they can get the PSD out of his brain, if that's how that works, I guess.
That's a great. I love that. It sounds like a great song. Get the PTSD out of my brain. It's good.
This is a very small point, but I was very excited because at one point, while West is recuperating, a janitor comes in with a big floor waxer and he sort of waxes the floor. And I really wanted to know more about that guy. I would have watched an entire show about this janitor who works on this spaceship. I think that's a fascinating premise.
So you like that? I like the guy who was like a mechanic who just was like throwing insults at West that one episode. I want to watch an episode about that guy's life.
It's because he was insulting Wes more than what he was doing.
Yeah, I kind of just like that. He's just like
Luke's interested in the actual
Yeah.
job behind the job. The
Yeah.
people that keep the ship running.
Jordan just wants to see people
There is
he
this-
recognizes on TV who
You
are
know-
like him.
Oh,
There is
come
a
on
whole
now.
web series about called Space Janitors.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're right.
yeah, that's true.
I guess it already exists. I can go live my dream of watching it.
Yeah.
Getting back to West, he does escape the medical bay briefly. He goes sort of back to where the 58's bunks are, where he catches a guy either stealing their stuff or packing it up because they're dead. He kind of has a bit of a breakdown, and McQueen really knows he needs to have this lobotomy now.
Yeah.
So they drag him back to the med bay, and they shave his head and put him into a pod full of goo.
I like that part. That was good.
Okay, so
You didn't like it, Courtney?
No, I did like it. But is that established? Is that a new thing?
This is all
new
new.
thing.
All new.
So I was like wondering again about like that when you were talking about the in vitros and they're like in water or something. I was like, is that like is it going back? And at one point, this happened sort of between the flashbacks. I was like, oh my god, was he taken by one of the chigs? Is he like being like experimented by these aliens?
He looked like he was going to the world. What was the other world in the Matrix? That's what it looked like. Was there another name for the world in the Matrix? Not
The
that
real world?
The real. Oh yeah, okay, the real world. No, that's an MTV show. Oh, thanks, Courtney. That was a bad joke, but I'm glad I got a laugh out of it. It was bad.
You make a good point though, Courtney, because
it was jarring. And I mean, again, I'm feeling a little bit like, not to bring up Harsh Realm on this podcast, but
I just had a shudder.
I
Harsh
know.
Realm.
But you know how I didn't get to see Santiago at all in the 2 episodes I watched. I didn't get to see any chigs in either of these either. Like, I think there was a little bit of but I couldn't tell because they're wearing like their armor, so I wasn't sure what was happening.
you saw all the chig we've ever seen.
Really, because there's a lot of pictures on the internet, so I was like, oh, maybe.
We've mentioned this a bit before, and I think it was actually maybe the last episode or the previous, where the chigs are sort of, they occasionally show up. You'll see bits of them, but whether it's just a design thing, they don't want you to see it. I think the idea is more they're this kind of sort of unseen foe a little bit, but it might even just be the costumes kind of look a little silly sometimes in lighting and things, but we've seen them very little because a few episodes,
Because they're talked about obviously a lot, and I
Yeah.
was like, so I didn't know, like, I was like, oh, maybe he's been abducted, maybe this is why, this is all in his head.
I mean,
I really wasn't sure. So
that's a possibility the episode lays out. Like, you don't know
Yeah.
what's happened. I mean, you know instinctually the rest of his squad isn't dead, but
the show would be
why and
done,
how.
but yeah.
So it does make sense that maybe he's in a facility being worked on by chigs.
But then all of a sudden, after that blue thing, like, he's sort of back in just regular surgery. So I don't really know what that blue stuff was doing.
That is a great question. Because, yes, they lay him in a bed of, like, goo. It looks like, they might do something to him in there. And when they cut to the next scene, he's now just in a regular surgery bed.
But but he had that cool visor.
Yeah,
I thought it was like
That was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, it was like how they're putting him to, like, this is anesthetic or whatever. And
I assumed it was some sort of just prep for surgery, but yeah, it is weird because you thought, oh, this is gonna be a modern surgery of putting someone in goo, but no, it just looked cool.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's just preparation.
Well, the way they were putting, like, they were dripping the blue on his arm or his leg, and then they go back, and then he's in the blue goo, and I was like, what is this?
I bet he'd be cleaning that goo off himself like forever. Like the next time he showered, he'd be like, oh, there's still goo on
But
me.
maybe that, like, was a way to get off all the space germs. Who knows, right?
Oh, I hate space germs. Luke, how do you feel about space germs?
Oh, they make you stronger.
See, I knew it. I knew he'd be the opposite of me.
You're such an anti space germs. You won't let any of your children get space germs.
No, you know what? That's what these people with all these what do you call them? The injections, vaccinations. That's what they're trying to. Anyways, forget it.
Yeah, let's not get into anti-vaxxers.
That's for later.
Is this where it goes into, like, that big, one of the best scenes is probably, I think, when McQueen and him are talking, when he's going under and he's trying to...
Exactly. He's trying to, as he's about to be put under to have this surgery that is going to scrape out his long-term memory and he's going to forget about the 58th. He's trying to convince McQueen. I
really liked that part, actually. Like, that was good. I mean, we haven't talked about my love of this actor that plays McQueen.
Was that right?
Yeah, I was shocked when I looked him up. I realized I really only, like, he's been in a ton of stuff, and I'm sure I've seen him in, like, one episode here and there. But he played Bill Buchanan on 24, and I was a huge 24 fan. So I was like, oh, this guy, this is so fun. But I really liked him, so I was excited. But they don't use him 100% well all the time.
He's a great actor. He brings a lot to that role.
Yeah, like, it was like, it actually felt like, even when you have to talk to Wes, being at Wes, like, he's actually having these, like, really quite hard conversations. And, like, I knew a little bit because you guys had talked about it, like how he had another squad that had, been lost, and, like, I just feel like it's definitely a reoccurring theme with this guy. So he's just like, I don't want to lose you too, so let's try to do this kind of thing. And he's like, no, they're not dead,
Courtney brings up an interesting point. Are they ever going to make the Angry Angels again? Because they're all gone, right? But, like, you think they'd be like, hey, it's the Angry Angels 2.
The sequel?
Well, no, not the sequel, but I mean...
Like a spin-off to this show?
No, I mean the actual group.
Oh.
They don't
Like,
make...
Why haven't they restaffed it?
Yeah.
I think those
They already got
names-
they had the jackets. They got the berets.
I don't think they do that. I think you once the I think it's like
I think I know the military very well. Thank you very much.
I'm obviously an expert, so
It's a good question. We've never seen them again. In this episode, they do establish all of his previous squad mates have died. So that is why he's so protective of West.
I liked McQueen, and I liked that he was like willing to like. It was more important to him to like give it one more try and not scrape at this guy's brain. So I was like, because at first, like he goes to leave, like it's quite dramatic. He goes to leave, and I'm like, oh my god, maybe this is the end of Wes. Hopefully, fingers crossed. No, but he was like going to leave, and then he's like, no, they're alive. I believe him. So, and then they find them in 3 seconds.
How bold would it have been of this show though if maybe not the main character, but one of the main characters just gets lobotomized?
It's
and
You wouldn't know the difference.
You would know the difference. Yeah, nice.
So it's a good part to do this. Let's rewind a little and see what actually happened on the planet and what's happened to the 58. So the mission they went on, which we sort of talked about briefly, was a rescue mission to get the 61st off of a planet. And the 61st were actually there on their own rescue mission. That's how dangerous this planet is. You can't even go rescue someone without needing to be rescued yourself.
Yeah.
So they go to a planet called Kiris.
Sear, wasn't it?
That's the thing. They pronounce it Seer, and then they say it's named after the Greek god of violent death. And when I tried to Google that, that name is spelled Keres.
So they got it wrong?
Well,
They definitely said Sear, because that's what I wrote down too.
I thought so too. And this happened on the Fear Planet episode.
That's right.
Is they had another Greek name that they mispronounced. So I don't know if maybe in the future everyone's forgotten the pronunciation.
Could it be like a Greek and Roman type?
It could be.
Like one of those things that they're slightly different names or something?
It could be.
Giving them more, I don't know.
Yeah.
I did like that they caught that joke about they were talking about the static planet, and then they were like, why can't we ever go to like the Chuckles planet?
Planet Chuckles.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's so funny.
That was a good. That had to be Wang,
Chuckle.
right?
That was a Vanson.
Oh, it was a Vanson.
yeah?
Oh, wow. I remember the line. I didn't remember who said it though.
Yeah, this planet is basically a static electricity planet. I mean, that's when we get there, they're just like, there's lightning everywhere, and they're like, oh, this place is like too much static buildup. I don't know. It's
I
like,
wish their hair was standing up though.
I
That
know.
would've been
There's a
great.
lot of missed opportunity. It's like going to a real dry hotel. You drag your feet across the floor and shock somebody.
Just in a hotel?
I just like the idea of. I've never heard the expression
That's so
dry
specific.
hotel before,
I know.
and I know what you mean, but it just is such a weird thing to like when you go to one of those dry hotels. I usually check out the wet ones.
Well, that's where you and I differ.
That's true. Now another thing we differ in. You love them dry, I love them wet.
Okay. Weird. Gross. I don't think I want to go to any wet hotel rooms.
It's true. I like my way better.
Gross.
But it does lead to actually a very weird scene, but very funny scene where someone does use the static electricity. Like he reaches across and zaps Wang in the face,
Yeah, that
like
was
you would
funny.
to your little brother or little sister. You like give him a zap.
Is he one of the characters that only exist in this episode? There's one guy with a mustache, and he's just like, you're like, well, these people are never going to be seen again.
Yeah.
Well, I thought they would at least get killed or something, because that's usually what happens when they add new characters into things, but I don't know.
Yeah, this is
I
Powell.
mean, I didn't know that they were new, though.
Yeah, they're
'Cause
new.
I was
Mustache
like,
was
who the
new.
hell are all these people?
It's hard to tell. I couldn't even tell if that was one of our leads or not.
Yeah, okay.
It was very darkly shot, and it was I assume Wang got zapped. I actually am not 100% sure.
I think it was him. I like Wang a lot. We'll talk about that in the next episode, though.
What the 58th discovers on the planet, though, is that the Chigs have taken the injured 61st and rigged them with bombs so that when they go to rescue them, they'll themselves get exploded. It's a dirty trick, and they're quite offended they'd use the injured in this way. And one of the guys even they find from the 61st, he just wants to be put out of his misery because he's got the bomb on him. He knows he can't be saved. And everyone seems to agree that's the most merciful thing to do. Like the entire squad, basically, except Wes sort of talks about how it's not correct. And this becomes a running theme is like everyone will agree to something, but West will take the moral high ground on it. And it's a bit of an awkward stance because, I mean, his character makes sense, but to have all the other characters disregard anything they might have said in the past and just be like, no, this is good. And he's like, no, I'm the moral center.
I guess it is consistent, but I know what you're saying. It was a weird moral high ground to be having a character take when I also was like, just shoot the guy.
It was funny because I actually wrote a note, like, he obviously has to always be the good guy.
Right.
Like, much to, like, his detriment in a few of these places. So it was interesting. But, I was like, okay, good for you. You're going to be that jerk.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing you point out. In this episode, he's definitely written because he's going to be the good guy of every scene. But in past episodes, there have been episodes where he's been written to be the bad guy of every scene, where he's a racist.
Like, actually?
Yeah.
Like, and that they're calling him on that?
Yeah.
Or that we're in this current timeline?
No, like, it's a racist against Chigs.
Oh.
Or not Chigs, tanks, like the in vitros.
Yeah.
He's been written to be intolerant of them, and that'll be used as, like, a downplay against him. But in this episode, they kind of write him to just be the moral high ground. I guess you can have a character who's both those things, but they just haven't executed it very well. Especially in this episode, it just feels like we need someone to be the good guy, so this is gonna be your episode, so you are the only person who thinks these things.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of keeps coming up because after their transport off the planet is destroyed, Vanson comes up with a plan. They're gonna gather the dead bodies to the 61st. They're gonna put them in the 51st uniforms and send out a help call because the Chigs are monitoring their frequencies, and when the Chigs basically hone in on their frequencies, they'll come. The dead squad will be there, and they'll sort of do the old switcheroo and blow up their own bombs, kind of like reversing the Chig plan and killing them. To which also West finds this very distasteful, which it can be a little bit, but everyone makes a good point. It's like, we're not going to get off this planet alive if we don't do something extreme. I think one of the new rando characters, even he has a line here where he goes, "We're all going to get spammed."
Yep.
No one liked that.
I don't remember that line. But
They're going to get put in a little can. Like a can of meat.
Oh, gross.
You were rubbing your fingers together. I thought you were saying this was a payoff from Big Spam.
Yeah, payoff for big. Luke has to talk about spam at least once an episode.
That's going to get awkward.
Gets a little contract.
So they kind of execute this plan. West, as a sort of form of protest, because he doesn't agree with the plan, he says he'll be the one who goes in with the dead and calls in the distress signal to draw the Chigs to them. Kind of his way of, I guess, showing solidarity to the Marines who are killed and who he feels are being disrespected in death. And as the sort of Chigs come in, he goes to make a run to get away, and the bombs go off and he's knocked down and he can't get across the battlefield. At which point Vanson tells him to stay with the dead, this thing he remembered, and the reason he knows they're still alive when he finally puts it together. So that kind of catches us up to how he was rescued, because when they came down to get them to Saratoga, the message he sent said that 58th are dead, I'm here with them. And they get there and they just find corpses in their uniforms and West. So that's kind of how we've looped this episode together. And his memory loss is the only thing keeping him from explaining it to anyone.
And no one had ever met anyone from the 58, so they didn't recognize that the faces didn't match the shirts.
Ooh.
You bring up a good point.
Well played.
They weren't blown up. Like, they were just bodies. So I was like, again, I didn't know how big the ship was. It took me a second to realize that they were on a ship. Like, I mean, I didn't know
you're
that,
right,
but,
though.
like,
Upon closer inspection, there are some holes in this.
it works for the Chig side and for them to get rescued. That all works. But it's just like them shipping them off in space in their funeral is a little weird.
They could have DNA tested or something. I would ask a question though too, is does it work for the Chig side? Are the Chigs so observant they would notice the difference between a person in a 51st uniform and a person in the 61st uniform?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
you know what? Chigs are detail oriented, so probably.
They probably did.
Did you also know, Courtney, that their mode of currency
I knew you were going to bring this up.
is poop?
Gross. I've hated this since day one of you talking about it.
Anyways,
Anyway,
we could talk off there about it.
Yeah, we'll talk after that.
You know, it was a good scene we could have had in this episode. The scene where they stripped the dead bodies and then like dressed in their clothes. Like, where was that scene? That must have taken hours.
Yeah, that'd be a weird, awkward scene. Limbs are just flopping around.
Real Weekend at Bernie's.
yeah, that's funnier. That'd be
That's a great
that'd
show.
be better
Great
than this
movie.
episode.
At any rate, this is kind of what happens because West remembers they rescue the 58th, and we kind of have a scene where they come back to their dorm room. They're wondering where all their stuff went because that guy stole it. And everyone is so grateful to West, and he cries. And we all feel good about him.
And that's it. That was that filler episode.
Well, no, that's not. There's a couple other things. Just questions I have before we get in.
Oh,
if
yeah.
we can. So they do the other funeral now.
Now they have it's true. They have a second funeral.
So who were in those other coffins?
I guess a few of the 58th did die on the planet.
Okay.
I think we saw a couple randos get shot.
Because they showed like a name, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, were we supposed to catch that?
No, I
Okay,
don't
good.
think so. These were.
Do they always shoot things they don't want out into space? They're like big litterers.
They are big litterers.
Dead bodies,
Pancakes. I mean,
that's what they shoot out.
absolutely.
I think yes. I think they are big litterers. I think
well, because they kind of make a comment about it that it was not the best way that they could be doing a funeral by just shooting them out into space.
It was good enough for Spock, am I right?
I mean, I do remember a line where someone said this was a special request they had.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, why is this a special request? And why are you granting it?
Do you think they still had that little container of their nail clippings?
Gross.
They could just thrown that out into space.
But none of the people who put their nails in there were died.
Oh yeah.
And the last note, and it shouldn't have bothered me as much, and it's from the beginning, when he's in his little hospital room, there's flowers. They're just growing flowers in space. They don't have better things to do with their time.
Why not?
That's a good point. I never even noticed that.
I noticed it right away because I was like, "Are we in space?" Like, I don't know how big the ship is, but like,
You know what's harder to believe? Who would have ever brought him flowers?
You make a good point, though, Courtney. This is war. There's not really
war.
time to be like growing
who's time for
flowers.
pancakes and flowers, man?
You make
the
very good points.
The pancakes were a special request.
Yeah, well, I mean, those are cool. I'm fine with the pancakes.
All right. So let's move on to episode 11.
All right, much better episode.
Are you gonna open yours, Coop?
What's it for?
It's a Christmas present.
Listen, I never told you guys this, but I kind of took off from the in vitro educational facility before they taught us stuff like this. So all I know about Christmas is that there was one day out of the year in Philadelphia that everything was closed and it was a headache. And it was lonelier than usual.
Coop, Christmas is the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ.
Actually, it's the continuation of the Roman festival of Saturnalia. Jesus of Nazareth was born on September 15th, 7 BC.
It's Nazareth and Christ. Now, who are those guys?
It's one guy.
All right, here's the summary for River of Stars. Disabled ship, far from searchers. No transmitter. Cold and dark at Christmas. Team, felling lost. Exchange thoughts, fears, and gifts. CO sends the 1968 Apollo 8 Genesis message. With mysterious help, team does just enough to make it home. That summary was courtesy of Christmas, well done.
That was like a haiku almost.
That was very odd reading.
That's how it's written.
Yeah, I can picture the
really
punctuation
weird.
there. Wow.
Sorry, what was the name of the person again?
Christmas, well done. Exclamation point at the end.
All right, yeah.
Thank you guys for letting me do a Christmas episode.
Hey, it's just how it happened.
I love it. I mean, Halloween would have been better, but do they still do that in television as much as they used to? Like, you could always
Like a Halloween episode and a
Halloween
Christmas episode.
and a Christmas episode, sometimes Thanksgiving. Like, it's just like because it was so scheduled, right? Like
Right.
things came out at a certain time. Like then it was like like the big.
I think
ratings
it's
boosts and all
fallen
that.
off a little bit.
Yeah.
Not a lot. I can't remember the last
Depends
time
on the
someone
show,
had a.
yeah.
I mean, I
Yes.
think Jordan's family all gathers around the TV for every Big Bang Christmas they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You and the guys from the Big Bang Theory.
I watched the Big Bang
Yeah,
Theory
you and
with
your
the guy
family.
from the.
You and
with
your
my
family gather around the television.
Yes, we do.
See what Sheldon's up to for this Christmas.
We do it every what day is that show on? Tuesday. Every Tuesday night.
I love that you even guessed it when that's on.
Yeah. What do you think? Tuesdays?
I've never seen that show. It's too much like sci-fi. I can't watch it. No, I'm just kidding. That's what it's
Nerds
about, right?
with a beautiful woman. That's science fiction.
Nice. Nicely done.
All right. The episode opens up on an interesting trope, actually. It's all documentary footage of World War I, and Wang narrates that famous Christmas story from World War I of the troops laying down their arms and having Christmas together. It's definitely a bit of a cheesy opening, but I kind of loved it. It really worked.
I was curious what you thought because I didn't like it. And the reason I didn't there was something weird and false. It hit just a false note. And I thought there's this weird thing of equating World War I with what they're going through, because we haven't really ever seen anything that similar in this war. World War I is sort of remembered from this horrific trench warfare. That's not what we've been seeing with these guys. I just thought it's like, yeah, it's just the same thing. Here's this quote for World War I, and I just thought, I don't think you guys have earned that.
I think they're just trying to pull out the truce aspect, though, because, and we'll get into it, but like the help that they get, like maybe I don't know. Or
yeah,
like
I get it. I
chicks,
just
like,
think
fly by
know.
them and don't.
I just think maybe too on the nose. I don't know.
Oh yeah, probably. But
I don't know. I see where you're coming from, but for me, I actually enjoyed it. Like, it was some good footage. I thought Wang's reading was like appropriately
it set up
dramatic.
It was a Christmas episode.
Set up
so
a Christmas
I was excited.
episode. I liked it. I ended up liking it. I agree. It was definitely a bit cheesy and maybe out of character for the show, but I enjoyed the little opening. It was a nice change of pace.
There's a lot of cheesy things.
Either way, it takes us into what I thought was the best looking space battle the show has done so far.
It was pretty cool.
That's what I thought.
Absolutely. They start off mid-space battle.
Yeah.
We've got them on a transport ship. They're not flying their hammerheads. They're on a transport ship. They're sort of manning the guns inside of it. Hawks has become a real one-liner guy, or he's got nicknames for everybody. I believe in this one. Do you know what he yells at the Chigs?
No, what does he say?
As he's firing, he yells, "Bend over, Chiggy man."
Does he really? I don't even remember that. Do you remember that, Courtney?
Either. No.
Bend over, Chiggy man?
But keep in mind that this is the first time that I'm actually getting to know who characters are, because I didn't know what was happening in the first episode. I had a better idea in retrospect of first episode that we watched, but it was really here that I was like, oh, look at their names. Okay, I know who this is. This guy's a thing. So I didn't notice that. I was just getting too vomitous from the spinning.
Yeah, that is what happens. Is one of the Chigs' ships basically damages one of their thrusters, and the ship kind of falls into a spin. But they, for what feels an interminable amount of time, like 2 or 3 minutes, they're just spinning the actual camera. So I actually felt nauseous watching the show.
And also, they cut away to the opening credits, which are hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know if we've ever talked about it.
I don't know if we've talked about it, but like
they're terrible.
It's great. Like some of those shots is like Vanson like kind of like crouched on the rock, and I don't know. That was great. And then it goes back to spinning. I'm like, this whole episode's gonna be spinning.
It's true. They really they actually are taking the camera and spinning it 360 degrees really quickly.
They're not moving the set?
Oh, maybe they are. This is a really high
budget. It's on a gimbal. It's just like going.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what a gimbal does. Gimbal shakes it this way. Not that you can tell from a radio podcast what I just did there.
Courtney has just actually done cartwheels throughout the room. It's amazing to see.
But they do finally stabilize the ship and end this spinning. And the idea is they've almost run out of fuel. The environmental systems are damaged. Basically, they're floating dead in space. And all of that, and you won't believe it, but you there, guest, what day is it?
Christmas Eve. It turns Christmas at like they're talking about it, and she's like, it's time.
I haven't missed it. The spirit did it all in one night.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Is that in the show? No. You're just being weird?
Yeah, that I like. Give it to him.
But yeah, it's 12 minutes after like midnight, so it's Christmas morning now.
Yeah.
You're 100% correct.
And didn't it felt like the episode took a weird turn at this point.
Yeah, because they're spinning.
Yeah. All right, I'll give you that one. That's pretty good, Courtney. It took a turn in terms of the tone of the episode. I thought changed quite a bit, and maybe it was just me. You didn't feel that way?
Well,
I don't think so.
I feel it just suddenly went like, now it's Christmas, and like let's never stop talking about Christmas.
Well, I will say, and I feel like you might have mentioned this in earlier things, but like it felt very religious this episode. Like all over it. Like I don't know if faith and religion is a big
it had
thing
some real
the whole show, or it's because it's a Christmas episode.
It reminded me of very similar to when the X-Files did that, the sort of kind of underlying tones of Catholicism that kind of would be brought up every now and then with Scully and the idea of
she was religious.
Yeah, faith and the feelings and thoughts behind that. This was a little clumsier in a weird way. I don't even know how I feel about it. It was oddly executed.
I mean, it's a Christmas episode, and they are going to be very on the nose about religion in it, which is, you're right, unusual for this show.
Yeah.
It definitely has not been a plot point up till now.
You know what it actually reminded me a little bit of was that Harsh Realm episode where what's his face? Remember what's his face with the bomb? What is the guy's name? John Jimmy Tutu. What was the main characters in that show name?
I don't.
Pinocchio.
Hobbs. Hobbs was
John Hobbs.
Yeah, he remember the episode he suddenly got like really religious for one episode? It felt a little bit like that, like as kind of ham-fisted.
Well, I think this is the premise of this episode, because
Yeah.
it is a Christmas episode.
And they don't start like that. They find the faith, which is.
And let me mention one thing. It's Christmas in what time zone? They're in space. Are they on Eastern time?
Yeah, they got to pick something. Otherwise, time wouldn't mean anything.
Exactly. Just be a jerk.
Nailed them, Jordan.
Nailed it.
Yeah, that's the thing you're going to hold on to.
This
what
is what
time
you're
is it
angry
really?
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. I think we can allow the time thing.
They're floating in dead in space. They're crossing the, what do they call it? The Aridonis constellation, the river of stars, floating through no man's land toward the Chig front lines. Back on the Saratoga, McQueen's watching the transport ships come back, and
How
he's sort of
cheesy
panicking
this is.
because he's not seeing the 58th return.
It was the way they shot that.
With his hands?
Oh man, it was so drawn out and very cheesy. Like I kind of loved it because I like that character, but really he's like counting on his fingers. He's like, "Oh no, not again! I've lost them again."
It is true. He
Literally
lose
just
them.
lost them last week. He's not a very good commander.
Yeah.
Well, not his fault.
No,
I know it's not
the
his fault.
problem is
Of course it's not his
the
fault.
problem is they suck.
Yeah, I know. Well, he's hitched his wagon to the wrong star.
Very good.
I tried for something. It didn't work.
that was I liked
Didn't
it.
work. All right, but I did think it was cheesy.
He sort of walks around the ship now, asking the people coming back if they've seen what happened to the 58th. He actually talks to these two Marines who just got back, who do this great comedy bit about what's left and what's right.
Yeah, that was weird, right?
Do you remember this? He stops these two Marines and he's like, did you see what happened to the ship the 58th was on? And one of them's like, yeah, the chick shot them and damaged their left propulsion. No, it was their right propulsion. No, it was their left propulsion. I think it might have been their right. He's like, well, they're dead. And he's like, no, the transmission came in after they were shot. They went left then. No, they went right.
I know.
And they just went back and forth about
Vaguely.
left and right.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he's like, McQueen stops them. He's just like, where's your CO? And they both point in opposite directions.
Yeah, it was like suddenly a Laurel and Hardy bit in the middle of an
Yeah.
episode.
I loved those two characters doing their little left and right bit.
Do you think they'll be back?
And no one comes back. I'm learning.
How big is the ship that they're all on? Like the battle? Like how big? How many people do you think are on the Saratoga?
A lot.
Like 1,000?
More.
Really? Like
Do you
it's
think
like
there's more than 1,000 people in it?
Let me put it this way. This episode we learn they have a bowling
Well, I
alley.
was gonna talk
It's
about that. That's the
huge.
first time you heard about that.
They have a medical. They have a whole hospital wing. They
Of
have a
course,
bowling
they
alley.
should have a hospital wing, but I don't
They're-
think they need a bowling alley.
They're growing flowers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of space on this ship.
I hear.
Yeah,
there's
well, we
like,
found at one time there's like a whole chef team.
Yeah, there's a mess. There's a janitor squad.
well, there's certain things that make sense. You need these things, but you don't need a bowling alley.
We'll get into it later, but I have a
Alright,
lot
sorry.
of questions about this bowling
Vanson
alley.
also feels you don't need a bowling alley.
Okay, we're giving away too much. Let's not jump ahead, guys. Cut that. Or put it at the end. I'm editing for you already.
Thank you. After this little comedy bit, McQueen checks in with Commodore Ross and basically asks to send out a search party so he can go find his once again lost 58th. And even actually Vanson comments on this when she says, we're on our own. Won't be the first time. Like,
Yeah.
they're pretty aware also. They've kind of been to this place a few times before in the writing of the show.
Mm-hmm.
But back on the damaged ship with the 58th, the temperature is dropping. The windows are frosting up. It's getting very festive on the ship.
Yeah.
And Courtney, you kind of mentioned this earlier. 3 Chig ships fly up on the damaged transport. And they kind of fly around, and they're sure they're going to get killed now. But they leave them alone. It's kind of a minor Christmas miracle they weren't destroyed.
But they never talk about that again, really, right? Like, there's no reason.
No, it's a bit of a mystery as to why they wouldn't have.
Okay.
And it'll come up a little later,
Yeah,
I guess.
absolutely.
But that is kind of leaves them with this question of like, what are they going to do now that they've been abandoned, even by the Chigs out there? They won't even get killed in an easy fashion. So, since they're going to die anyway, Vanson starts handing out the Christmas gifts she got for the whole team.
And I thought that was actually a cute, like, sweet scene.
It was.
Because and I thought it was done pretty well because into her character, she was still being kind of gruff with it, but she's like, yeah, fine, I got your presents, stupid idiot, sort of thing. And I like that.
I already had them. They were on the ship kind of thing.
I mean, she even had them for the random crew we've never seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and she's like the boss, right? Like,
yeah.
She's like their boss. I liked her. I didn't like her that much in the first episode that I watched because she just yelled a lot. But she was very sweet.
She's good. She's a good character. When they give her something to do, she works very, very well.
Yeah.
Do you have the list of all the gifts they gave? I'm sure you do, Luke.
I do. Well, I'm gonna get them into 1 second because I'm gonna talk a little bit about Christmas now. Hawks is very confused by these gifts, and he admits for the first time that as an in vitro, I guess there's an in vitro school they're supposed to go to, but he dropped out of in vitro school, so he never learned about Christmas.
I know what they're going for, and it's okay, you get a little of his character, but also he's been living in the world. He must have picked up some things along the way. Like, there's got to be other sources of information in one's life other than what you learn in a classroom. So I thought it was a little bit far-fetched, but it was a cute idea. I know,
he didn't have someone that cared about him enough to give him a gift.
I know. I get the point of it. It just, I don't know if it makes sense.
He only learned stuff on the street, Jordan. There's no Christmas on the street.
No.
Yeah, the School of Hard Knocks.
That's right.
Exactly. And this is where it suddenly takes a very religious turn because they start explaining to him what Christmas is. It's not the general, like, oh, it's a time for you and your family. They're like, it is the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Have you accepted him into your heart?
Well, that's okay. That's not exactly what it is, but what it was a weird thing that they would say that would be what they first go to. But I actually found Wang really annoying because, look, it's weird to go like, what's Christmas about? Well, have you heard about Jesus Christ? Like, that's weird. But he just won't stop being like interjecting and cutting things up. And it just reminded me of like, can you imagine actually having a conversation with someone and then another person's like, but it's dumb. But it's dumb. It's like, okay, we get it. Just calm down for 2 seconds.
Courtney, do you know anyone like that in your life?
Oh, that just interact. Yeah. I was like, you're talking about yourself a little bit. You interject all the time and say things are dumb. It's pretty funny. Look at Luke's so proud right now. They're trying not to talk over each other because they did that the whole time I was here last time, if anyone remembers. But
no comment.
No comment. I mean, in a loving way, obviously, but
I don't think I'm as annoying as Wang was here. There's no way.
It was a little forceful, but they had to get through it really quickly because he had to have a whole 360 conversion to get on board by the end of the episode.
Luke's very amused at this. I'm not amused at all.
He really is.
I don't like this mirror being put up towards me.
But Jordan, I guess to your point, you're right.
It was a little obnoxious. For sure.
Wang is playing a Scrooge, basically. And it's not even that
I didn't even catch that. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, he's bah-humbugging all over the place. And it's funny because it's not even that he's saying, and he does in this, he kind of is just like, oh, it was also, Saturnalia. It was also a Roman pagan holiday.
Right.
But in reality, he actually believes in that Christmas story. He's just been kind of, because of the war, his faith has been tested.
Right.
So he's a bit of a bah humbug here. Although it is fun when they're describing the Christmas story, the like literal Jesus Christmas story to Hawks. And they're talking about how Jesus was born. There was an immaculate conception. He had no parents. And Hawks is like, Jesus, was it in vitro?
I know. And it's like, Hawks, how stupid are you? Am I right?
I don't know.
I like Hawks.
Sweet.
I like Hawks. Him and Vanson are by far my two favorite characters on this show, and I like what they're doing with him. This sort of, he's become this sort of not emotionless, but that sort of Data character or Spock character, so that you can, he's always explaining something, and I like that. But it just was like, come on, man.
I mean, it is a little funny, but it's a good. I like that. It was a good joke that he would think Jesus was in vitro.
Yeah, it was all right.
A fun twist.
And Wang would be there being like, no, it's not.
I like
just
Wang,
like
though.
me.
Overall, on this episode, like, I haven't seen him at all, really. And I was like, he's pretty funny. And, like, he's just trying to do his thing. Like, he seemed like the most real. I don't know why he's necessarily in the army, specifically.
Who, Wang?
Yeah. He just,
just
wanted
war.
He had a lot of cockroaches in his bed when he was a kid.
Ugh, gross.
Good callback.
Thanks.
But yeah, that kind of just establishes where we are and kind of what the stakes are going to be is Wang needs to get his Christmas spirit back. That's sort of the setup of this premise. Yeah. And now I will get into it as asked. Vanson gives everyone their gift, and other than Wang, who won't open his gift because he is Scrooging it up, who gets what?
Hawks gets Sex Pistols CD.
Yeah, it's real nice.
The
Damn
other
Bruce.
girl got a engraved knife.
Yeah, an engraved combat knife.
Two of them get engraved?
Yeah.
One of the nobodies also
Yeah.
got engraved.
Again, I think this is why I thought there was another person that was another female character, because I think it was a female character that got a gun. Wes got socks. They put on his hands immediately.
Which was my favorite part of the episode, because Vanson burns him so bad.
By getting him socks.
Not only, but why does she give him socks, Luke?
I believe she says, "You're hard to shop for."
Yeah, but why is he hard to shop for? What does she say?
I am not sure.
She says to him, "You're really hard to shop for because all you ever talk about is your girlfriend." And that's why he storms off, because and then she storms off because he goes in a little huff, and then she's like, "I shouldn't have said that. It came out the wrong way." But she's not wrong.
And also, am I wrong in the fact that he could hear them through his headset while they talked about him?
Yeah, they kind of forgot that they had it was like an open mic problem.
They forgot?
Oh, you think it was on purpose?
I don't know, but I was just like, poor guy. The first time I had any felt bad for him. I'm like, he's just sitting there
well, they
being
didn't say
a
anything
sucky
too
baby.
bad about him.
No, it's all true.
I wasn't going to get to this at all, but we'll do it really quick here. There's a minor B plot here where the rest of the squad through this open mic talks about how they're all Marine material, but it's weird West is here. He just joined to get his girlfriend back, and is he really part of the squad? And they decide, even in that open mic thing, that he's just a little different from them. It was a very odd aside to finally get into that idea, but it was a brief moment where West kind of had to confront the idea that he hasn't been maybe playing with the squad, on the same team. He's kind of been running off on his own all too much.
Which he has. That's
which
kind
is
of
true.
Being his thing through the whole thing is that
he keeps leaving.
He keeps leaving, and he always has his own agenda.
Yeah. So as we go through this episode, a big part of how we get information or beats that have been happening is their radio's damaged, so it can't send out transmissions, but it can still receive them. And it receives a few very important transmissions. I'll go through a few of them here. One, McQueen, while trying to raise their Christmas spirits, he plays them the audio, as mentioned in the summary, from the Apollo 8. It's a Christmas message from the 1968 they sent back to Earth, which is also quite churchy in tone, which leads to the general churchiness of this Christmas episode. The next one I'm going to bring up is Commodore Ross gets on his guitar and plays them a little Christmas song.
Amazing.
I was glad his guitar came back.
This is the second time we've seen it.
Oh.
Yeah. The first time he had his shirt off.
Really?
I wish he had taken his shirt off to do it.
Yeah, he was wearing an undershirt, but he was all off hours. It's time to
break loose.
Break out to Van Morrison or whatever he plays.
What's his role?
He runs the Saratoga.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, that makes sense.
And probably most important of all, they pick up an old TV show theme over the radio, and the theme song to the 60s Batman plays over the radio.
That was my favorite part.
You know what irritated me about that? No one knew what Batman was. I'm like, there's no way you're not going to know who Batman is.
In the future, everyone knows who Jerry Lewis is, but no one remembers who Batman is.
I know. Come on.
But the new Batmans, just to play devil's advocate, the ones that are current, they don't have that theme. That's definitely from we're talking over 100 years old.
Yeah,
right?
but he has to describe who Batman is.
Oh, the character.
Yeah,
that was just funny.
Literally do not know who Batman is.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It was funny though. I enjoyed the little.
And he's like, I think it's about a bat, and I think it's about a bird. And I'm like, all right, West, go away.
Well, it's funny because he claims he's seen the show, and he thinks it's about a bat and a bird. I'm like, listen, if you'd seen Batman, you'd know what it was about.
Yeah.
The really big thing that happens to the radio is a signal comes through the radio that our dear friend and Scrooge of this episode, Wang, picks up. Or, as a brief moment coming up here, Hawks refers to him as Wanger.
Does he really?
He's full of nicknames this episode. He's
Wanger.
like, hey, Wanger, what's wrong? What'd you pick up on the radio?
Oh, that's funny.
But what comes over the radio is a mysterious code. And hidden in the code is some sort of instructions, because there's a comet passing by, and it's giving them telemetry data that they can use to hitch a ride on the comet.
This has been done before. This is in something before. Not the data, but like going behind a comet. Is that from something?
I know that in
is that like in
one
one
of
the Star Wars
I think in
movies?
Star Trek 4 they used the gravitational pull.
Is that the one with the whales?
Yeah.
That's the only one I've seen.
Yeah,
so maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, they use the gravitational pull of the Earth to spin them into the past. It was something like that, right?
Yeah, it could be.
It's a bit of a... Yeah, maybe that's not what I'm thinking of. But I do remember that. The whale episode.
What were the whales named in Star Trek 4?
God, who knows?
George and Gracie.
That's, well, good for you.
I would never got that.
No, George Burns and Gracie Allen. That's what it's named after.
That's hilarious. I don't know who those people are either.
You don't know who George Burns is?
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And Gracie Allen.
Yeah,
they
with
were
their
the comedy
glasses.
team, and then he got really old.
Yeah.
And then they both
I just
died.
picture him with his glasses. Okay, sorry.
But yes, it's a bit of a miracle. Like this mysterious message arrives. Wang intercepts it. He's kind of getting his faith back because where could this signal come from that happened to show this comet that just happens to be passing by them with the exact data they need to like get pulled into its orbit to drag them back to friendly space.
And also just to know that it was coming because like they didn't know it was there until he knew that there was even a problem. So
The answer, of course, is Jesus Christ.
it's not a chick. It's not another kind of alien.
Well, speaking about where the message come from, Wang does say it didn't feel like it was from a human when he receives it. And I took that to mean like maybe it was either from Jesus Christ or perhaps a mysterious other alien race that exists. But when the message kind of gets relayed to Commodore Ross and McQueen, they immediately know it is a Chig message. Like the Chigs have sent this message to the ship.
Oh, I missed that.
So for some reason, the Chigs also know it's Christmas, and they're trying to give a little helping hand for some reason. That's what they've implied, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The Chigs are giving them the opportunity to get back to friendly space. That's exactly what's implied by that. So they have to do a few things to get ready. There's a bit of a spacewalk where Wang has to fix one of the thrusters. And before he does that, West wants to give him some good luck to build up his faith. So he gives him the locket with a picture of his girlfriend in it, which is kind of like, here, take this. This will give you what you need to survive out there or something.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone would want that locket.
I guess it was just to show that they're all on the same team.
Right.
He supports Wang.
Can you imagine though you get it, but like I don't want this stupid thing.
It's the thing that means the most to him. So it is pretty simple. You know, whether it means nothing to you, it's just like that act is very selfless.
It's very meaningful. It's a good. It's a Christmas gift. In fact, when Wang gets back in, he finally opens Vanson's gift, which is...
Oh, wait. Can we just speak about this for a second?
Yep.
Not only when he gets back in, when there's 70 seconds before they have to, do this very
dangerous
maneuver. He opens it up and it's Romeo and Juliet. Is that the right play? It's definitely Shakespeare sonnets or poetry.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either.
I think it is Romeo and Juliet.
You know what's funny? I didn't catch what it was, and then I just thought, Luke will tell me.
I'm pretty sure. They talk about... Oh, I wish I had it now because I was going to look it up, but I also thought you guys would have that already. So
no, I mean, it is a book of poetry,
but it's so funny.
But Shakespeare...
And I remembered you guys saying that he liked Shakespeare in earlier episodes, so that also helped me pick up on that.
That's interesting, yeah. That shows that Vanson likes that, but Vanson has shown to have a interest in poetry before too, so it's a weird... I was just like, she's really giving him something, because she's quoted poetry to him before. They're really... Batman's dead in the future, but poetry, big time important.
The timing was just made me laugh so hard. It's like, oh, wait a second. Yes, I'm going to open this. And then I'm going to read some of it out loud to the group.
He thinks they may not make it through it, and so he wants to open the gift before he dies. And then, yes, we read poetry and we're off. But we know they're not going to die because there's more episodes, you know?
And it's a Christmas episode. It'd be so sad if they died.
Yeah, that would be sad.
But yeah, they get behind the ship. You kind of get a shot of the comet flying, and it's dragging their little transport behind it, and they're rescued by a party from the Saratoga, so they're saved in the end of the day.
And then they get to go back to party.
Yeah, they get to go back to the crew Christmas party on the Saratoga.
And that was nice. That was a nice little moment.
I like the little blue aftershave hooch that they were drinking.
It's true. They said someone on the ship brewed scotch out of aftershave.
It's blue.
It's bright blue.
It's not how you make scotch. I don't know how that works, but anyway.
There's
In the
that-
future, use
who
scotch to
knows?
chip your face.
Yeah. There's a funny line earlier on as well that I wrote down that McQueen says to like some drunk guy when they're trying to like figure out who's going to go out. He says, "There are men and women out there that will never get a chance to have a hangover again if you don't get those white dots focused."
Yeah, he's very intense.
Yeah.
I actually wrote that he's a terrible comedy audience member. He's just always angry all the time. I wonder who that's like.
And I have a question. Well, we'll get to it. I'll ask it at the end because I feel like it might be a spoiler if to other episodes. But we'll ask after we finish this. I want to talk about the gifts. Hawk's gifts. That's where we're at, right?
So what we're seeing at the Christmas party is everyone's kind of like showing the lessons they've learned. And because Hawks didn't know about Christmas, he didn't know about giving gifts. So he's gone out and gotten a gift for Vanson to show his gratitude for the CD he got her.
That he didn't get to listen to.
She got him.
She got him. Thank you. What was the gift, Courtney?
It was a gift certificate to go to the bowling alley, which apparently she thinks is for dweebs. But she didn't tell him that. She said she was really happy.
That's right. She got a bowling alley gift certificate with shoe rental.
Yeah, but here's the thing. You have to pay for the bowling alley on the ship? That's weird, right?
Yeah, it should be. If it's there, it should just be free.
That was my question to him. Like, why do they force the crew of the ship to pay to go bowling alley?
I sort of took it as, you know, when you were a kid and you make your mom a gift certificate for Mother's Day that says, "I'm going to do the dishes. I'm going to take you to the park." Like,
yeah, it was definitely
it's
one
definitely
of those.
meant to that. So I don't think cash is
Right,
a thing,
right.
really. It was just a really sweet thing. But here's a question I had. Again, not really. It would have been maybe a little weird. But is there like a romantic inclination with these guys? I was sort of picking up on that.
They teased it really early on, but have not gone back to it.
Because I was surprised, because you would normally think that the leader of the crew and the hot Wes character would hook up because his girlfriend is dead. But obviously they're not going there, which I'm
she's
happy
not
with.
dead.
I know. I'm just kidding.
They
just
hinted
joking.
at it early on, and they kind of made it seem like there might be a
Is this Hawk or
a little
Wes?
what do you call it?
Love
like
triangle.
love triangle. Excuse me. Thank you. But they've kind of went away from it pretty
Good.
quick. So this is the first time it's sort of come back where
It's very sweet.
yeah, and it was done in a sweet way. It didn't seem like a romantic thing, more of a
Friend.
friend sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
After Hawks gives Vanson this gift certificate to the bowling alley, and West takes Hawks aside, and you kind of hinted at this, but like he explains to Hawks that Vanson thinks bowling's stupid. Why is West rooting his Christmas
I know,
gift
I
for
thought
him?
the same
He's a
thing.
dick.
Yeah. No, here's what we learned. No one likes West, and it did seem like the reason he was doing it was to undercut what had just happened. Like, oh, they're getting along, I'm gonna get in and like say something to ruin it. Because it was like, why would you ever do that to someone? Like
Like, it's like he was jealous.
Yeah, it was
He's
dumb.
like, I didn't get her a gift. I'm a jerk.
Maybe that's what it is. I mean, they soften it because then Hawks is like, "Oh, did I mess up?" And he's like, "No, you did good, buddy." And
Mm-hmm.
kind of picks Hawks up. And I was like, "Why even do that, West? You're mean."
Yeah.
But after kind of this interaction, Wang comes back to return the locket with his girlfriend's picture that West had given him for luck, and West tells him to keep it. It's his gift to Wang. I mean, first of all,
It's a terrible gift.
let's unpack the idea that Wang would want to keep this locket picture of his girlfriend. Like, I get the sentiment,
But it saved
but
his
what is
life.
Wang going to do with it?
Well, it's lonely in space.
Oh, gross. Wes is in the photo too. It's not just him.
Yeah.
her.
And
All right.
What? I've missed something, but okay, let's keep going.
You didn't miss anything.
yeah, you didn't miss anything.
But you're right. It's not the end of this locket's journey, because within the 10 seconds Wang is now in ownership of this locket, he turns around, walks up to McQueen and says, "This is for you." And he re-gifts the locket of West's girlfriend to McQueen.
Yeah, what was happening there?
I will. You know what it is? I actually wrote this down because I actually thought it was quite lovely. Because they say, like, it's about knowing that there's somebody out there that's not going to give up on you. So he is their constant. That's always going to like send out those ships and be there for him. He's the one that keeps looking and being there. So he's there because they say that the locket is about knowing that something is always going to be there. And so he gives it to McQueen as a sentiment from the crew to say, "You are our locket."
It is interesting, though. I mean, you're right, Courtney. That is the sentiment, and we
Which
are
I
being
thought was
very
quite
glib about it.
nice.
It is a nice sentiment. And it's kind of interesting, and I don't know if this is the case, but it feels like they're putting that girlfriend subplot maybe behind West a little bit now by him sort of giving that up to be part of the team.
Can I ask a question just like in terms of where this gets placed in the series? How many episodes did they do? Is it 22?
23. So we are literally at the halfway point.
She might come back and she'll marry McQueen and Wes will kill himself. It'll be fine.
That's some episode.
That's a rough ending.
It's a wedding episode, but also suicide.
I just wanted to make one side note because this is something that we've seen in a couple episodes before this and was brought up. But there's actually a couple like very sweet moments between McQueen and Commodore Ross where they're like looking out the window together. At some point, he comforts him when he thinks
touch
it's
each other
going.
a lot.
I'm really gonna ship them now. I want them to be a couple.
Yeah, I had a theory earlier on that
really?
I think they're in a couple. I don't think they are, but they sort of have a relationship that seems like it's a very plausible thing that they're in a relationship, like a romantic relationship.
I want them to be now, and I know they're probably not going that way in 95.
Yeah,
but like
no, 95 probably.
those two actors have a strong chemistry together.
Their scenes together are good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it for that episode. It is a fairly basic, straightforward Christmas episode, kind of giving you everything you want. And as it closes on a shot of space, we get some text on the screen that says, "From the cast and crew of Space Above and Beyond, peace." How'd you like that, Jordan?
I didn't.
I didn't like it either.
I didn't either. I've seen many Christmas episodes.
It's about war, this show.
I don't think I've ever seen... Have you ever seen the cast and crew wish you a Merry Christmas at the end of a Christmas episode?
Not that I remember.
I feel like, I mean, that didn't seem that weird to me, to be honest.
Maybe the Waltons.
But, like, I don't know.
It was an odd choice that they would wish us all.
I thought they were going to tell us somebody had died in real life. You know, that's usually where they put it, you know?
Yeah, remembering Fingers, the grip, you know? They always get nicknames.
Oh, I don't want to meet a grip named Fingers.
We'll get into some final thoughts on the ratings now. This is something I had seen online earlier, but I think it was probably on the Reddit for Space Above and Beyond. But I'm quite sure I saw that someone out there watches this exact episode every Christmas with his brother. It's a tradition.
That's sweet, I
guess. So this really affected some people, this episode.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of nice moments and like sentiment behind it.
It's not exactly a Christmas classic, though.
I agree with you. I think there's some nice moments, but that does not an episode make.
Well, and again, this is me following that last episode and also listening to this amazing show you guys have been talking about for like 6 weeks.
Yeah. These weren't the strong episodes.
Yeah, because why would you give me good episodes?
I mean, they weren't the worst episodes.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fine.
They weren't the worst. They weren't. My scores are pretty favorable.
Everyone had very varied opinions on these episodes. Yeah. We'll start with you, Courtney. What do you want to give Stay with the Dead?
5.5.
5.5.
And only because I was comparing it to Harsh Realm. And I'm pretty sure I might have rated one of their episodes the same. And it was still probably better than Harsh Realm.
Oh, burn on Harsh Realm.
Harsh Realm was pretty awful.
Still giving this the same rating.
Yeah, I know, but this wasn't very good either.
And my dear friend Wanger, what are you going to give it?
3.
3.
You hated it.
I hated this episode. Yeah. And again, I'm like, it's at least 50% me. I just didn't think anything in this episode worked, and I didn't care. And it felt like a clip show that was minus the clips.
Stay with the Dead, I'm going to give a 6. I didn't hate it as much as everyone else. I thought it was an improvement on the exact same format of the one where they had fears, but much better executed. And then that brings us to the Christmas episode, River of Stars.
7.5.
7.5. Very nice.
5.
5. I'm going to give it a 6. I didn't love it. It was a little too preachy for me.
I just finally could understand who people were. It was easy to sort of follow. As somebody that got dropped into the show blind, because I had heard characters and plot points, like it was much more enjoyable to watch it because I could understand it. There was nothing too crazy about it.
I just hope more episodes. I want them to go on like a fun adventure. I like the show much less when they're dour and it's gritty military episodes. I don't think the show works as well. I think it's more fun when, I don't know.
Do they go on fun adventures?
They're going doing something.
Was there an episode that I missed that there's a fun adventure?
I don't know. Was there a fun adventure? I feel like
one Jordan loved.
I feel like these were.
Is that when he gave it an 8?
Yeah, that was a good one.
I should watch that episode.
Yeah, it was good. It was the second part of an episode. Anyways, I felt One was a little dour and one was a little preachy, and I was like, all right, let's see what else you got.
Fair enough. I'm not going to besmirch you for your opinion.
Not for my opinion.
Just for your personality.
Yeah, apparently.
Sorry, buddy.
That's all right. I'm going to go home and cry later.
No,
At least Courtenay didn't reprimand you for what you'd say about women this time.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right.
No, you were pretty good this episode.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, because there's hardly any women in it.
Oh, all right. That's all I'm ever doing. It's all in good fun.
I'm kidding. Like, you were fine. There's nothing wrong on this episode.
This is the most female representation in any show we've ever had.
It really is, isn't it?
Like, they actually in roles of power, too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Vanson's more interesting than almost all the characters.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So next week, we're going to take a little breather from Space from Beyond. Since we're halfway through the series right now, we're going to take a pause, watch a failed pilot TV movie for the Roddenberry classic Genesis 2.
Yeah, the classic that no one remembers.
Yeah.
Is there a Genesis 1?
I don't think so.
As we'll learn next week, probably not. In the meantime, if you want to email us and ask some questions about this or any other shows we watch, you can get a hold of us at continuumdrag@gmail.com. And of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at continuumdrag, where we're always posting more information about these shows with images and little GIFs and things. Courtenay, thank you so much for coming in again.
Thanks for having me.
And Jordan, great to see you as always.
What was that expression that what's-his-face had about the chigs bending over?
Chiggy man?
Yeah, bend over, Chiggy man. That's how we should end this.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in, everybody, and we'll see you all, or hear you all. Fuck, every time. I can never do an ending.
Bend over, Chiggy man.
Merry Christmas.
Continuum Drag is recorded at Astrolab Studios in Toronto, Ontario. Theme music by James Ruxedler. Produced by Jordan Delick and Luke Black. Special thanks to Adam Wheatner, Jeff Hanley, and Dwayne Wright.